Hey, what's up? Odell here. I'm in my studio in the beautiful city of San Francisco, California. I'm here today to do a tutorial on Premiere Pro CC. I'm going to walk you through, it's going to be kind of a beginner's tutorial. I'm just going to show you how I set up a project and how I go through. I'm going to talk about the timeline. I'm going to talk about some of the panels in there. I know anyone who first opens up any kind of nonlinear editing application, your eyes can just bug out and it can be very stressful on figuring out what to do and how to go about it. I'm going to show you how I do it. Disclaimer, I'm not a guru. I've been using Premiere Pro though for close to probably 6 years now, over 6 years. And before that I was using Final Cut Pro up to Final Cut Pro 7. I dabbled a little bit in Final Cut 10, but kind of put that to the side and really kind of went with Premiere Pro because Premiere Pro was a lot like Final Cut 7. And so I stepped off of that right into Premiere Pro. It didn't take me very long to kind of get up and running. So again, I'm going to walk you through this as best I can. If you have questions, please submit them below. Also, please subscribe and follow me. I am just getting started here. I'm a baby just learning to walk in this YouTube world. I'm very used to being behind the camera, behind the keyboard. This is me stepping out in front of the camera and really kind of sharing the knowledge that I have in the hopes that I can create a, and be part of a larger community and a larger conversation. So tune in for more, and I thank you very much. You're the people who inspire me, all you fellow YouTubers, all you fellow creators out there. I'm here for you. So let's work. Okay, here we are. This is my desktop, and we are going to do a beginner little tutorial, kind of to familiarize you with Premiere Pro CC. Just to let you know, I'm working on Mac. I've always used Premiere on Mac, so I won't be talking about any PC shortcuts or ways to set it up on a PC. The first thing we're going to do is launch the application, Premiere Pro CC 2017. And it's going to pop up, and you will see a little dialog box that's going to come up here. Start dialog box, and here you can have start a new project. You can open a project. You can work on team project, open team project. This is a cool new feature here where you can work across networks with other editors, graphics people, director, producer on a project, which is a really cool new way to collaborate. But for us, we're just talking about starting a new project. So you're going to want to name your project here. I've got 17 beginner tutorial. You're going to want to have a location where you're keeping your project files. I have one on my desktop here that I keep all my projects in. You want to back this up as well. And so that's basically, I don't want to get too much into the details. There's scratch disk, which is also a very important. What this is where you're going to put your captured video. But these days it's not as important because you're basically a lot of times dragging and dropping your media off of a card or off of another drive onto your media drive. Captured audio, same thing. Video previews, audio previews, project autosave. And so what the project autosave is, I have that kind of going. It's best to have these going into separate places. And I can explain that a little bit more detail as we go along here. But for the interest of time, let's keep moving forward. We'll go back to general here. You don't have to worry about this. Time code's what you want. Audio samples is fine. Capture, we're not going to worry about this because again, we're dragging and dropping media from a card or another drive onto our drive on our computer. And so basically we're going to open this project up, and you have a blank slate. Oh my gosh, a blank slate. What do we do? First thing I want to do is just kind of go into preferences. One of the most important areas here is your preferences. You're going to want to know what to do in your preferences. So there's a myriad of choices. I'll keep it simple. I would recommend keeping most of the stuff on the default to start with. So the next thing we want to go to, the thing you're going to be most excited to do, is to import your media. Now there's a few different ways. Again, we're working on a Mac keyboard here. If you control and then click, you can import. You can import your media this way. I can also come here, I can hit import, okay, from the file choice here in your menu. I can also just hit Command I, and I can also import. So we'll just go with that Command I for now. We'll go to my, again, my content. I have a content drive that I keep all my media on. And then I also have a backup clone drive to that, as you can see right here. I have my main content, and then I have a clone of that. So all my media and my project files and everything are being backed up. So I have two copies of that in case, God forbid, something happens and you lose media. Drives fail from time to time. Things happen. So we're going to go here. I'm just going to select this OHP show 4617. This is some footage of me that I recorded when I was doing my review of a camera bag. Okay, so you're gonna this folder, this little warning thing is gonna pop up here, file import failure, and all that is it's basically just telling me it doesn't know what to do with these .rtn files. Now every camera is gonna have a separate kind of little file thing that's gonna, I think these are like text files or some of the files that the camera creates. Don't worry about that. That's not your media. Just try to move right past that. Click OK. For the interest of time, keep it moving. So here we have my media file that I just imported. I'm going to open that up. I've got two folders here with media in them. And I shot this on a Red camera. So we will import, or I should say view. So this is our project. Just so you know, this is our project panel. Okay, and in your project panel, you'll have your effects, you'll have your markers, never use that, and you'll have your history. I don't really ever use that too often. Effects is something you're going to want to know. And one thing you want to know about Premiere Pro in general, this application is super malleable. Like, you can move stuff all over the place. And as you can see up here, these are different setups. You can create your own. There's this one I use quite often. It's based on Premiere Pro CS 5.5, which I have, I have my timeline panel, my program, my source panel, and then my project panel. Okay, so let's move back to that. So we are going to click on this file, and this is the first media file in this folder. And over here now we're looking at our source. This is our source clip. This is that clip I just clicked on. And this is where you're really going to want to begin to understand what you can do and how you can work with your footage. And so I'm going to start with a few keyboard shortcuts that you're going to want to know. So I and O to start with, okay? So I and O, I'm going to turn up my volume here so you can hear me talk. It's kind of embarrassing, but oh well. So I and O stands for in and out, okay? The next three most important keys that I use these, and this is when I first started learning editing, these were the ones that, really kind of stuck in my head, and that's J, K, and L. J is reverse, K is stop, and L is play forward. So just memorize those. Those three keys are going to help you the most, I believe, in my opinion. So let's just start off by hitting another way you can play footage, just so we know what's going on. You can also hit the tab bar in the beautiful city of San Francisco to play the footage. If I hit L, California in the Sunset District, footage moves. And K stops. J, reversing the footage. So just learn those. That's 5 keyboard shortcuts I just gave you. So I for in, O for out, J for reverse play, K for stop, and L for play forward. Okay, just remember those, and then if you want, you can use, and you will use the space bar from time to time to just play the footage forward. All right, so let's just start off here. I'm gonna take some footage, and I'm gonna move it from my source window here, to my timeline window. Right now there's no sequence in here. So let's just start off quickly and talk about how do we create a sequence, because this is going to be something you're going to be trying to figure out, and you're going to be like, how do I do that? How do I do that? So you can go here to File, you can go to New, And this is where you can create all kinds of new stuff. You can create a new project, again, team project we talked about at the beginning, and sequence. And also real quick, we can, this is where you can create titles, you can connect to Photoshop, bring in bars and tone, a video, like a slug, captions, a color mat. You'll use color mat sometimes when you're doing your titling, HD bars and tone, universal count leader, transparent video, blah, 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 lots of stuff. But look, we're focusing on sequence. Okay, so I can click that to start a new sequence. I can also hit Command N to start a new sequence. Okay, so from here, if you're doing it this way, you're going to be kind of selecting your parameters on your own. So what I would do for this, because this is what I shot the footage at, I would select 4K HD 16:9 23:9:7. Okay, and so I've already got that selected because those are the sequences I often work with. Next, you can name your sequence whatever it is, whatever you want to name it. Name it something relevant to what you're doing, the project you're working on. Okay, I'm just going to call it sequence 1. And ta-da, there's my sequence. Okay, another way we could do that, let's go back up here again to our source window. In our source window, we're pulling from our project window. Okay, so this is the folder I imported, the footage I imported. Okay, and so let's go over here and let's start by playing this footage. I'm going to mark it in.
Hello.
Okay. J to reverse. I'm going to mark it in.
Hello.
Play forward with L.
Del here. I'm in my studio in the beautiful city of San Francisco, California, in the Sunset District.
And I'm going to go mark an out. That's O. And now I have my first bit of media that I could work with selected. And in editing, it's all about marking in, marking out from your source footage and pulling that footage into your timeline. That's something you're going to be doing quite often when you're working these projects. So we have that clip. So a couple different things. I've always been a kind of a drag and drop guy. There are shortcuts to get this to go into your timeline. But I'm going to just kind of drag, do it the style that I do it. I can do this a couple different ways. I can just drag this footage and drop it this way, kind of manually, or I can also drag it over here and I can insert it. There's also a bunch of different other selections. I'll be honest, I never ever use any of this stuff, but these are options. So again, this program, what you see over here, your program is going to be your timeline. Okay, so let's just drop this clip in here, and let's click on it. So this is basically what this part we just selected in and out, right? And so now we have that footage. Now another key thing you're going to want to be able to do here is you're going to want to be able to punch in on this footage so you can see a little bit more of the details of this footage. Command plus, and as you can see, I have increased the size of that so I can see my waveform. You can see I have 4 tracks here. Basically, I could take this down to 1 track. This is from a lav that I'm wearing here, and then this is from the camera, kind of like just scratch audio. So as you can see, we can drag back and forth. A little loud. We can drag back and forth there. We can. This is about as close as we can get. Even closer. This is about as close as we can get. And when you are working on footage, the reason you want to punch in like this is so you can get some more detailed cuts. Like I can just drag like this, and get that cut a little bit closer, that start point a little bit closer. I can cut in here and cut the clip in pieces. Okay, note another keyboard shortcut is B. Okay, B. And what B is my splicing tool. I can also just manually select these tools over here on the side. And again, the way you're looking at the way I have my project set up is based on this CC, basically Premiere Pro CS 5.5. You might have this set up completely different. And that's going to have to be something you're going to have to work on. What's your favorite, layout to work with? And that each editor, each creator is going to want to do it a little bit differently. that's something you can decide on your own. But this is, just so you know, that's kind of what I'm rolling with right now. Remember to save early and often. So number one thing, save early and often. Now, one of the benefits of this program is it is saving these files, your project files, in here in your Premiere Pro autosave. So if you ever have this application crash, and believe me, it's going to crash at some point, it always happens, you do want to save early and often, but you also have this to kind of fall back on. And what this is saving these, auto-saving these files. So I can go, for example, sometimes you can set parameters on how often it saves, but you sometimes, for some reason, you've been working feverishly, you did a bunch of little things, little cuts and moves and stuff in a short amount of time, and for some reason the autosave, or it just, you didn't save it manually, but your autosave did. So as I can see, this started at 12:15, about 4 minutes ago. So that's, a little bit too much information. It's probably a little bit more advanced thinking in terms of like making sure you're saving all your work. But that's just something you want to sort of maybe study a little bit more on and kind of learn about that in terms of your autosave. Like I said, man, there's a lot with this program. I've watched tutorials when I was learning coming up, and there are people that are really, really good at explaining all this stuff. I'm just kicking it to you how I learned to do this and the shortcuts that I use. So let us get right back to, I want to show you a few more things in this first basic tutorial that I'm doing. I'm going to have to break this up into separate ones. There's just too much to talk about. Okay, again, here we are with this footage. I'm just going to kind of mess around again. B is the shortcut for this. All right, to get that, to get your splicing tool, to go back to your arrow tool, your selection tool, I just hit A. Okay, so A is the selection tool, and I can manually, do this. They're calling it the razor tool. I was calling it the splicing tool. Okay, your razor tool, that's fine. And I can manually select that. So if I click this, that's going to slice that clip there. And this is really how I do a lot of my editing. It's kind of old school, like when they were working with film, you would lay your film, your celluloid out there, and you would make splices. You would splice out, like so. For example, this is just kind of dead space, right? There's nothing going here. I would splice that out with an actual real razor. So that's kind of what that tool is based off of. And so as you go through here, you might want to just break all these things up. You might want to break these separate things up depending on what's being said there. And then I can just delete that. I can delete that. I didn't need to do that. So another thing you can do is Control and click here. And you can join, it's a thing called join through edit. So if you wanted to, rather than hit Command Z and just kind of go back, you can hit that. Okay, and that brings it all back together. Another important shortcut I use is Command L. And so that is basically the link tool. So now all these pieces are kind of separate, right? They're all separate. Again, Command Z, if you ever you're like, oh crap, I messed up, you can go back quickly using Command Z. All right, so basically I'm going to take out this scratch audio from the camera. I am going to take out this kind of redundant channel. I could leave it in there if I wanted to, no harm in doing that. And I can go back and select, and then I can, again, my Command L to link that stuff back together. It just cleans it up a little bit. Now I have this one little bit of footage here.
I'm in my studio in the beautiful city of San Francisco, California.
Okay, another important little keyboard shortcut is your little arrow keys, your up, down, left, right. If I hit up, it goes to the beginning of my clip, down to the back of my clip. If I hit the left or right arrow, it's going to move frame by frame, okay? Back, that's a top, up key, up arrow, I'm sorry, down arrow, and then frame by frame. So this is just another way when you're making cuts that you can get in here. Again, Command plus, I can go in here. I can see my audio waveform. And you can see over here is in my audio this is my audio meter here. It's kind of low. It's a little low. So if I wanted to, I can go control click, and in here I've got a whole lot of stuff. But I can go to my audio gain here, click my audio gain, and I can raise that volume if I want. So I'm just going to go 12 dBs and raise that up. Boom, and now I've got a little bit.
Oh, Odell here. I'm in my studio in the beautiful city of San Francisco.
Yeah, you can see here that raised it up in a much more clear and loud volume that I can hear it. Now I can bring down my actual computer volume a little bit.
Oh, Odell here. I'm in my studio in the beautiful city of San Francisco, California, in the Sunset District.
So I don't know. I think that's a lot to to digest in one lesson. Because again, I'm just trying to do this for people who are just starting out, people who are just beginning to mess around with this application. It's the one program that I've used the most. I began using Final Cut Pro, but once Final Cut Pro went from 7 to 10, like a lot of editors, I jumped ship and I jumped over to Premiere. The way Premiere looks here is a lot like how Final Cut 7 looked when I left it. So that's what I like about it. And so I'm just trying to think what else I can add to this that's going to be of value to you for this lesson. There's a lot I talked about. And again, I'm just starting to do these tutorials. If you're interested in more of this kind of stuff, subscribe here to my YouTube channel. Leave a comment or a message. This is all about building community. I'm hoping to create value here for you. I will kind of do another one of these tutorials, and I think that I'm going to kind of just keep doing these and keep going over this more and more so that folks can come back here again and hopefully check this out. And you can learn. Tell me or ask me any questions you might have about the application. I'll do my best to answer them. If I don't know the answer, I'll direct you to someone who does. Like I said, I'm not a Premiere Pro guru or an Adobe guru. I'm just some cat that has been editing for 10 plus years, over a decade of editing, and this is just kind of how I do it. But so that was our first lesson. It was setting up a project, naming the project. Again, redundancy. You want to back up your media. Make sure you have more than one copy of your media. Super, super important. Can't stress that enough. Also, where you're saving your project files, where you're saving your preview, your autosave files. This stuff is very important to know what's going on with that. But it's not as critical as kind of like just the basics of having redundancy in your media and kind of knowing the beginnings of what you're doing here. So as you can see, this is a sequence file. This is the media that I imported, and that's basically kind of where I'm going to leave off on this one. I will try to do another one of these very shortly, get a few of these on here, and we can talk about more stuff. We can talk about different edits that you will make and different things to consider. Yeah, man. So yeah, thanks again. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this to sort of build a community and try to help other people with the knowledge that I've gained over these years. And I wish you lots of luck. I know it gets frustrating using any kind of new application, especially one as powerful as this one. I mean, there is a lot going on here, but I'm going to try to keep it focused on just the things that are going to help you get better. All right, man, so keep editing, keep learning, keep growing, keep doing your thing.